Hi everybody, today's Chiro Chats is with a Canadian chiropractor, Dr. Charles. I hope you liked today's interview and our chat that we had. Thank you also for watching the video, and just a bit of a shout out to see if you could support it. Firstly, if you're interested in coming in Chiro Chats and talking about your chiropractic journey, please contact me. And second of all, if you want to support Chiro Chats, please be a Patreon of mine. You'll see the links below and an explication about what that means. And thank you, Vismai, for being my first Patreon. You'll see his name here. Thanks so much, Vismai, and enjoy the interview. Bye. Today I have a really cool Chiro Chats. I actually got a Canadian Chiro Chats. So this is the first interview that I'm going to do with a Canadian chiropractor. I have Dr. Charles Leroux on the call.
Thank you.
On the call. He's in Montreal, and I actually heard about you, Charles, during the COVID time when we were at home. I saw that you had challenged yourself to a 30-day challenge where you were making videos of yourself at home. And so you kept coming up into my feed. And actually, I don't speak French, and your calls were in French, but I definitely felt your energy coming from that. And so from there, you sort of sparked my interest. You know, who's this guy over there? What's he doing? So tell us a little bit about your story. You've been a chiropractor now for 16 years, practicing in Montreal. How did it all start for you?
First of all, thank you, Erin, for this nice introduction. It's a real pleasure for me to be with you and your crowd today. My journey in chiropractic started like a pretty unusual way, I will say, because usually, typically, what we can see is people that choose to be chiropractor because they knew chiropractic before, or they had a chiropractor in their family, and none of that was true for me. So I was completely new to chiropractic. I was only introduced once by one of my teacher 1 year before I chose to be a chiropractor, because that teacher told us that he went to see a chiropractor once a year just for a general checkup. And at that time, I was hesitating between medicine or physical therapy. Didn't know at that time where I wanted to go. But that teacher ignite that spark inside of me and that curiosity to go further. And I went to a chiropractor to spend an afternoon with her, and I just decided to register for chiropractic university. And I really discovered then a way of living, a philosophy of life. I fell in love in chiropractic during my third year in university, when I attended a Parker seminar in Las Vegas with more than 10,000 people. And at that time, I really realized what was chiropractic.
Right.
Hearing about chiropractic from people like non-chiropractic people like Deepak Chopra, Wayne Dyer, and some amazing chiropractors like Gilles Lamarche, who was my first mentor, and then John DeMartini, Patrick Gentempo, all these great guys who talk about the way of living. And I never looked back then. I never regretted to be a chiropractor.
Definitely haven't looked back, because not only are you a successful chiropractor, you also lecture MLS techniques as well. Tell us a little bit about how you got into doing that.
Yeah, once again, I don't believe in a random situation. I know that every situation comes to your life for a specific reason, a specific purpose. Same for people, actually. But when I was in my last year at university, Arnaud came in Canada, in Trois-Rivières, to teach MLS. And again, I just decided to attend, and it really struck myself. It hit my heart so hard, and I finished the seminar without even remembering anything. But I was crying, and I was super emotional, because you know that feeling when you feel that you are on your own X, you are fully aligned at the right place at the right time with the right people. That was the feeling I experienced with Arnaud. And I just shared that with you, and I have goosebumps. Arnaud really helped me to transform my life. And I decided to attend many more MLS as a student, at least 8 or 9 times. And every time he came, because he came twice a year in Trois-Rivières, So I decided to staff with him. We had some amazing conversation because I went to the airport to drove in up to Trois-Rivières. So we had every time twice a year, 90 minutes to 2 hours of deep conversation. So, and we became friends. And I was also one of his staff member in Paris. And a few years ago, he asked me if I wanted to take over the MLS teaching responsibility for Trois-Rivières. So I was super honored and I was so super stressed to walk in his own shoes because he's one of the greatest people in chiropractic. But I don't try to do the same things as Arno is doing or did before, but I teach MLS in my own way of of understanding and deep respect also for all Arno's work. And I will also teach MLS and French in Paris last weekend of November. So it's again a big step for me, a big accomplishment, and I'm super honored and humbled to serve chiropractic in that way also.
Yeah. And when you are lecturing, for you, what is one of your biggest challenges? Is it that getting the people to understand the technique, or is it sending the message? What are some of the challenges you find teaching MLS?
Yeah, at first I was super in my head. The first time I taught MLS, I was like, I don't know, maybe everybody who is a lecturer or who do a conference, they will experience the same. We are stressed because we want to do good. So I wanted to do so good that I was not necessarily in my heart. I was too much in my head.
Yes.
And my biggest challenge was to manage myself, manage my emotion and my stress, and just be in my heart. That's the biggest challenge I had at that time. And now what I can say, it's because I did it, I have done it so many times, that I just try to be in the flow and to listen and to be connected with what people need to hear from myself. I don't try to convince people or even to teach something. I'm just here to share what's working for me.
Right.
And for me, MLS is a way of adjusting. It's not a technique, it's an approach that can be adapted to every technique. So that's the core message I want to share during the whole weekend of the seminar. Beside this, I don't see necessarily any challenge because every time it's different. So sometimes we need to be very present, very focused to what's going on in the room. And I have also amazing staff who are also with me to support me in that mission. The
Yeah.
challenge is to be present. It's not necessarily it's also the same challenge in every situation of life. The challenge is to be 100% present, to observe without judging, without trying to interpret something, without putting any emotion in it, and to react or better to respond the best way that you can.
So speaking of challenges, this 30-day challenge that you put yourself to during this COVID period, what did that bring up for you? What learnings have you taken from that as well? Speaking of challenges.
I've learned that I should have done this before.
Yeah.
Because it might be strange for me to say that, but I'm more than an introvert person than an extrovert person. Even if I'm doing talks sometime in front of hundreds of people, or I'm teaching, or I'm not necessarily in the zone when I'm doing video, and especially in front of my phone with nobody with nobody in front of me. But I decided to step up because I was writing newsletter every week since more than 10 years. I'm doing also a podcast 4 times a week, but it's audio, it's not video. So I decided to step up a little bit more and to make myself more visible, to share my insight, my way of living, my way of thinking. And I realized that a lot of people, they share me super good comments. They were super interested, and I realized that, oh, I should have done this before.
Yeah.
So that's why I will structure myself a little bit better, because 30 days every day was pretty demanding. But
Yeah.
I want to be more present and a certain frequency, at least once a week, on Facebook and once a week on Instagram.
Right.
Sooner than later, I will adapt myself to the pace, and because I know that I have a lot of information, a lot of wisdom to share, um, because people need that information. People need to be aware of the importance and the essential things about life, the importance of taking control of your own life instead of letting it to the outside world.
Because what do you see in your personal view, of course, what do you see as our challenges right now as a chiropractic community? I mean, it's maybe it might be a bit difficult to compare Canada and Europe, but in your personal opinion, what challenges do you think we have ahead of us?
I would have had a different answer if we had this talk 3 months ago, because chiropractic always have had a lot of challenges,
Mm-hmm.
and especially right now, we have to adapt our conversation to where the people are right now,
Mm-hmm.
because the conversation right now is all around how can we protect ourselves from the viruses, how can we protect ourselves financially, how can I be more isolated from people. And so we need to reach out people where they are. It was always our challenges in chiropractic, because the conversation was more around taking care of our sickness and diseases, and we need to have the conversation with people, to connect with them, and to make them realize that health comes from the inside. And it's more important than any time in our history, the history of chiropractic, to have this conversation right now.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of protecting ourselves from viruses or a disease, which is also super important, we have also to be there, to be on the public space, to have the conversation about what's creating health, how can you have a better energy, how can we manage stress properly,
Mm-hmm.
how can we deal better with our own emotion and anxiety, because this is huge right now, and
Yeah.
even for ourselves. So we have to take care of ourselves first,
Yeah.
because if we don't, we if we are not in integrity with this message, we won't connect with people,
Right.
and our own life would be a mess. So it's super challenging right now on a personal level for everybody, at a different level, I guess. But also we can imagine that for the people, usually the majority of the population, they are not aware that we can have a control on our own life.
Yeah.
We are used to believe the government, to believe the authority, and because we are all born this way, conditioned and programmed since we are born,
Mm-hmm.
to listen, to conform, and to think, and to talk the way that other people want us to think and to talk.
Yeah.
And the same thing for our own actions. So now it's more important than ever to
To
bring
question.
the conversation about responsibility, about what we can focus, about what we can control, and to focus our awareness, our energy, our resources on creating the things that we can create. And
Right.
we can create better health, we can create better energy, we can create better protection, not necessarily with only with mask and washing your hands.
Yeah. Week you're back in the office. How have you found the people responding to you, your clients? How have you found, well, first of all, how have you found them on the table? How have you found them, to touch? And then how have you found them as far as being able to hear your words as well?
We were on pause for almost 3 months.
Mm.
So without having an adjustment, I don't know about you, but I have my own chiropractor and I get adjusted once a week.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not adjusted for 2 weeks, I start to feel it. So it was the same for the people. And it was funny because for more than 16 years, I had this message to the people that, and I said to them, don't wait for pain to be adjusted. You can come at a certain frequency, and if you feel some stiffness or stuff like this, then come over, don't wait for your adjustment. And for the last 3 months, I had to say to the people, wait until you feel an emergency to be adjusted. So it was like it was mind blowing for me. It was not necessarily, it was against my value, but I decided to conform in a certain way, and
Mhm.
I wanted to participate in this thing that we wanted to create as a society. But now that I am back, I can feel that people, 95% of the people, they are so excited to be back. They are so also relieved, and like I can feel basically almost instantly super excited. Some people are still in fear. I have to connect with them. But for people who restarted who just restart their care, they are super happy, and they said like, ah, at least finally I can see you. That was the main the, the main conversation around my my return in practice.
I can imagine. I can imagine. I mean, for me too, everyone was really happy to get back and get adjusted, and me too. I was really happy to get adjusted as well. And speaking of which, you was talking about how you have been on online. One thing, once I sort of saw you coming up in my feed, I started to stalk you a little bit, and I love the actual imagery that you use on your Facebook. I mean, again, it's in French, but even that, it still comes across, you know, and I still understand what it is, even if I don't quite understand the language, you know. How, what, where do you get your work from, and where does that come from? Do you guys do you do it yourself? Like, it's really great what you're doing.
Thank you. I try to translate everything, even though my infographics are mostly in French. You can read the caption, and it's all written in English usually.
Yeah.
And I'm every day I write in a journal, and uh, I ask myself the question: what people need from me today, or what I can do for people for their best interest today. And usually I came up with an idea or a draw or something, a picture in my mind, and I try to catch every idea that I get during the day.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, I just prepare something for the next day. And sometimes I don't have any inspiration, but I just sit down with a paper and a pen and then start writing. And sometimes it's a long text, and some other days it's a pretty short infograph. And basically 99% of everything I put online, it's I do it myself. And
Mm-hmm.
I know that for a purpose of being more efficient, I should maybe sooner than later hire a web graphic designer or somebody like this to help me on that. But I love doing this, so for now I do it pretty much myself.
Well, you're doing a great job. No, you keep doing it. You keep doing it. You can feel that it comes from you.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a matter also of integrity, because if I delegate some something of my own creation, if it's not my own own energy, I think that people will feel it. So
sure.
some it's maybe one of the reasons why I haven't done it yet.
Yeah. No, no, no. Well, look, Charles, thank you so much for the chat today. Thank you for your great energy, and good luck back at work. And I'm
Thank you.
sure that now, I mean, please, everybody who's listening to this, please friend you on Facebook so that you can see your work. And what was the name of your podcast, too?
Yeah, my podcast is called Life Code. So if you want to practice your French, or if you speak French, you're more than welcome to join the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. And people also can join me on Instagram at Dr. Charles Leroux. So I'll be pleased to connect with everybody.
Great. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Erin.
Bye.